Hey everyone, NC Floor Guys here. So you moved a wall and you're left with this, a large gap in the middle of your flooring. How are we going to fix this? Well, ideally we would like to lace it in like this and make both sides look continuous, but that's not going to work in this case. As I put the level across the edge here, you can see that the two sides don't come together, which means on one side of the wall there's a little bit of spread. So you can't merge these two sides together to fit together neatly and look like one continuous floor. So we're going to have to come up with something else. If you look on the other side of the opening, you can see we've got a short wall. It's a full height wall, but it sticks out into the room about 2 feet. And this wall was directly across from the wall that we moved. So it's going to make a great place to put in a turn board. So we could put in a flush mount turn board, 2 or 3 boards wide, and then sand the whole thing. And that way it'll be flat and there won't have any bumps or raises in the middle of the floor anywhere. Plus, it should look really nice. So the first thing we're going to do is put our long level against the short wall that sticks out into the room and draw a line all the way down, and that's going to give us a good place to start. Now we're going to put this line as close to one edge of the wall that we moved as we can. That way we're not cutting away a lot of extra material, and we get as close as we can to being in line with the other wall that's still in place. That way it just visually looks a little neater. Okay, now that we've got our first line in place, I'm going to go ahead and find a straight edge. In this case I had a long piece of pine, on the truck, and so I just set that down where I drew my first line with my level, and then I put my board up to it to make sure it's on the line, and then I go ahead and tack it down in place. Now after I've done that, I've got to cut off the excess wood that's hanging out past my line, so I've got a nice clean edge there. And you can do this several ways. You can use a skill saw if you want to. In this case I'm using a Makita fine tool. It's got a flat blade and it works really nice, makes a nice clean edge, and it also cuts the wood back away from the gap, and that just makes it a little bit easier to put your turn boards in. It's a bit of a slow, tedious process, but the finished product looks really nice, I think. Okay, so we've got our first line cut all the way across the room in a nice perfect straight line. Now we're going to mark the position of our second line. And the second line is going to be measured off of the first line. So after you cut the second line, you're going to have 2 perfectly parallel lines. After we mark where we want our second line to be, we take our straight edge and again line it up nice and neat with our marks. This particular board is only about 1 inch wide, so it's very flexible. That's actually helpful to keep it exactly on my marks. And I'm just going to double check after I've got my straight edge in place. It looks good, so I'm going to tack it down so it doesn't move on me while I'm making my cuts. And as I go down the line with my straight edge, I'm going to take my carpenter square and just double check and make sure it's lining up 90 degrees with the existing flooring as I check the width as I work down the line. And then I go a couple feet further down, check it again. That way we know that our straight edge board is the exact same width all the way down off of our first line. And then we cut off the excess. So after we've got both of our lines cut all the way across the floor, it's a simple matter to just go behind and quickly pop out the pieces that we cut out. And this is where we'll put our turn boards. After we get all of our cut pieces out of the way, we're going to quickly go behind and clean out our space. We're going to pull the nails and pull up our tar paper and also give it a quick vac. We want it to be nice and clean because we're going to glue all these turn boards down with liquid nails. So we want to get all this dust up and make sure that our work area is nice and clean. Now I had already pre-measured the flooring, which you can see here is 2 1/4, and so we want our gap to be 6 inches wide. That way I can rip just a little bit off of our flooring pieces and get 3 equal sized pieces in there so everything looks uniform. And also we need to cut the tongue off anyway because it's really just in the way. We don't need it because we're going to glue everything down. So you just want to be sure you get your measurements nice and tight. So after we rip our turn boards to width on the table saw, we bring them back to our space. I've got some heavy duty liquid nails here. And the first thing I'm going to do is run a line of liquid nails all the way down the edge of both of the lines that we cut. That way there's absolutely no squeaking or movement on both sides of all those boards that we cut. And then I'm going to go ahead and put a bunch of liquid nails in the field. Now, our turn boards are going to be 3 boards wide. So I'm running a nice heavy bead of liquid nails right in the middle of each of those turn boards. And then I'm going to come back and put some more liquid nails all across this pattern and just crisscross it all over the place. You really can't put too much liquid nails. The more the merrier, in my opinion. So once we get lots of liquid nails down, we can go ahead and take our turn boards and set those in place. Now, if I can get my flooring nailer in there, I want to go ahead and do that on whatever turn board I can get to, because these staples driven in by the pneumatic flooring nailer are super strong, and it's really going to secure these turn boards down to the floor. So whenever you can use the floor nail, go ahead and do it. When you run out of room, you'll need to switch to the face nailer. But for the first couple rows, we can get that flooring nailer in there, and so that's what we're going to do. Now on the last turn board, we're going to set it in there nice and neat, make sure it's a good fit. We're going to switch to the finish nailer. I'm using 2-inch 15 gauge angled finish nailers. And when my last board is in place, I'm just going to tack it down. Now we're going to go back and fill those holes at the end. And when you get finished, this is what it looks like. You've got 3 turn boards, equal width, right in the middle of the room. Now we've got a little bit of prep work to do before we can sand this floor. We're going to be using a trollable wood filler. This one is made by Bona. We're going to apply it in all of those gaps and nail holes nice and thick before we begin to sand. I'm not going to go into a lot of details about how to sand this floor. You can check out some of my other videos for that, but I'm going to go over it with the edger. That's the tool that you see here. Edger is very aggressive, and it's going to do a great job of smoothing out any of those high spots. And you can see this is what it looks like after we edge it. You can still see some of the filler on the floor, but it's nice and smooth and level, and all of those cracks filled in really nicely. Skip to the end, we've applied a light stain and a couple coats of polyurethane, and it looks amazing. Thanks for watching.